Trinidad Chambliss is back for Ole Miss, and that's problems for the SEC and college football.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day right here on the nation's #1 podcasting network, Locked On. We are brought to you by our friends at Mazda. We put the same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work that defines you. Stay tuned for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. There's more to a Mazda because there is more to you. We're going to be discussing the top SEC teams today. Going to have some fun discussing why certain teams are going to go up, why certain teams are going to go down, and who I think at the end will battle in Atlanta. We're also going to talk about the Ole Miss squad in general and their schedule in the middle of the show. But after we get done talking about Trinidad specifically, this is a better roster than what a lot of people might think. And on top of that, it's also a team that even though they play a difficult schedule, they might have the best offense in college football. We'll get into that a little bit later in the show. But to start, I want to give my thoughts on Trinidad Chambliss. And to do so, I'm going to, for those of you on YouTube listening live, look, you can see this. I'll read it. If you're listening to this later on, I've got 4 comments / questions that you can put them either way in a lot of different senses. But is the ruling the right one for Trinidad Chambliss to get another year of eligibility? That's 1. 2, did you know it was not the NCAA who actually ruled against Trinidad in the first place? I'll explain. Number 3, how does Ole Miss ranking change with Trinidad coming back for 2026? And number 4, finally, who will be the best Southeastern Conference teams, with the Rebels definitely being one of them? All right. Number 1, is the ruling the right one? From a biased perspective, I think that it is the right one. I think it's good for college football to have guys like Trinidad in there. He went the long road. He went to Division II, Ferris State. For those who don't know, that's in the state of Michigan, and that's where he played high school ball, and then he went there for 3 years, 4 years, whatever it was. He ends up at Ole Miss last year, but he had some issues with medical, and I'm not going to try to be a lawyer here, but if it's close and a young man benefits, why would you not give him the eligibility? Now, again, that is not a lawyer take. That is just a common sense reasoning take, and those are not the same. The court of law is a different animal. To that end, the whole process, and again, number 2 here is, did you know it was not the NCAA ruled against him? I'll explain. The process is weird. Everything that seems to happen with the NCAA is goofy. This is no different. Here's the deal. They ended up doing it not federally, but locally. And the judge that ruled in Trinidad's favor is an Ole Miss grad. I mean, the guy took pictures with Trinidad afterwards. That's not a good look. That was stupid. I don't think that they should have done that. And it's obvious this was an inside job. They picked the court judge, and it was a joke. But at the same time, should they have ever gotten to that point? That's the other side of the story. Probably not. Again, I'm using common sense, and Lord only knows we could use more of that in the United States of America and across the world. But the young man benefits. He did get some problems when he was at Ferris State with some medical. And again, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. You can go read about it. But they didn't have the film or whatever from practices. Ferris State had changed. They couldn't go back and look and see how much he played. I think it was 2022, even in practice. So they were kind of flying blind. If it's that big a deal, why not let the young man, because NCAA is supposed to represent the players, right? Why not allow the player to have a benefit of the doubt? So I still think it's the right ruling. How it ended with the local judge is going to end up hurting Ole Miss some way, shape, or form down the road. We'll see. But they're going to have a lot of haters out there. And right now they do. Not that that directly hurts them, but there's going to be other things that probably go against them down the road using local judge. By the way, Joey Aguilar today is getting a local judge too. I'm pretty sure he's having a ruling in the state of Tennessee. Number 2, this is the one a lot of people didn't know, and I didn't even know till today, and that's why you do your research. It was not the NCAA that ruled against Trinidad. They had a group of individuals from other schools rule on it. Again, not the NCAA. It's people that were set up. And to be clear, the member institutions, which Ole Miss is one, set up these rules and how all this stuff happens. So it's kind of the old saying, you don't mind it happening until it happens to you. Obviously, if it would have happened against LSU, do you think any Ole Miss fan, like if this was reversed, they'd been happy if Trinidad didn't get eligibility? Let's not sit here and kid ourselves. This is 100% about bias and nothing more and nothing less. Bias, number one, number two, and number three, and continue until infinity. That being stated, I thought it was interesting that they used like a group of peers, and it's smart in the NCAA's case, I don't say that very often, that they use other people in these panels, these committees, so they're not on the hook. The only thing I'd say is, why didn't you promote that more just so you take pressure off yourself? That is typical NCAA, not using their opportunities to the best of their ability. Number three, how does Ole Miss ranking change with Trinidad back? Well, it's real simple. I have them top 5 now. Top 5. I'll discuss that a little bit more in the second segment, but I think they're a top 5 team with him. And they've, Ferrelli coming in from Cal. They've got some pass rushers. They've got some good DBs now. Their secondaries improved the most. Like, I'll do a show to go through it specifically with Stephen Willis fairly soon. But overall, Trinidad coming back, like, it solidifies that offense. There's no doubt. I think that Honeycomb at wide receiver, like they've just got a really, really good group. And on top of it all, this is a team that has the athleticism on both sides of the ball, not just offense, but on defense now to sort of put things in perspective, to challenge teams and not just play zone and drop 8, which they did a lot of last year. I think they're going to come after teams a little more, and they can mix it up. I'm not sure that many people would expect that. And to be honest, looking at their depth chart, I still had to look just kind of make sure. But having, by the way, Suntarine Perkins coming back, I didn't expect him to. Will Echols, I mean, that's a great start. Then you got Kam Franklin on the edge, but it's at corner, etc. Antonio Kite's there. They've got some guys coming back, and then they've got really good portal players. I'll go down the list later, but like Ladarian Clardy's a kid that I know Steven's very high on. And again, he runs Locked On Ole Miss. If you want to know anything about the Rebels, check out Locked On Ole Miss. He does a great job. But they've got a ton of guys coming back that are good, and their portal class is really good as well. Now, last thing on this first part of the show, who will be the best SEC teams? I think it's pretty straightforward. Georgia and Texas, to me, are pretty obvious. Their rosters are really good. And on top of their rosters being really good, they've got quarterbacks with vast experience now. That really matters. Like Texas improved in the trenches. Okay, what else did they improve with? Well, their receiver room. They went out and got Cam Coleman, for crying out loud. I know Cam. I've been around him numerous times. That is a freaky athlete. That kind of changes your vertical passing game. And Texas is already a team that can throw down the field. Finally, with Georgia, I mean, I trust Kirby Smart, and I imagine most of you do too in terms of big decisions. He doesn't make a lot of failed decisions. He's got a quarterback and Gunnar Stockton coming back. So those two, and now I think Ole Miss will lead the pack. The wild card teams for me, and there are many, Florida. We have no idea what we're going to get with John Summerall's group, and they play Georgia. They play Ole Miss, and I'll put up the schedule here in a second. And they have a lot of different guys on their roster that can have big games. Jaden Ball ran for 266 against Florida State last year. And I get it. Florida State wasn't very good, but 266, he set the record in that game. They could have a game where they knock off somebody. Texas is going to play Oklahoma. That's the other team that I'm like, they could be a playoff team again. They've got a lot of guys coming back on that defense. The quarterback returns. They've got some talent receiver. They went and got some pieces. The O-line should be better. I don't know, but would it surprise me if Oklahoma and Texas got into the playoff? No. Regardless of who wins that game, and usually that's a barometer, I think there's a really good chance that both do. Ole Miss, Georgia, I think they both have great chances as well. If I had to pick, those would be my 4 most likely. And you're probably waiting for me to say, well, what about LSU? I still have an asterisk by LSU for the following reason. Sam Leavitt has the injury to his foot that he's coming back from. It is historically a very difficult injury to figure out because many times there is an additional injury to it. And what is it? It's a Liz Frank. It's a type of foot injury. He may or may not be able to get through this next season. I don't think Sam Leavitt's going to play much in spring, and that's going to hurt time. So if there's a fifth SEC team that makes the playoff this next year, it could be LSU. It could be Missouri. It could be somebody else. There's always seemingly a surprise team. But right now, I would put number 5 at LSU. I need to see Sam be healthy for the full season. And, of course, you can't project that. So they would be my 5th team. So we'll see how it goes. But here is a quick look, and I'll put it back up after the break. The schedule, it's not an easy one for Ole Miss, and that's one of the reasons they could falter. But we'll get back into that when we come back after the break. This is the Portal Podcast. You are listening and live to talk about Ole Miss and Trinidad Chambliss. I think it's great for college football to be back. We'll have more here in just a moment. Today's show is brought to you by Indeed, where hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help you and your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed-sponsored jobs is the move. Because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match with quality candidates by boosting your job listings to prepare you for the fit that goes with the role. So the skills, the certifications, the location, maybe it's an experienced person that you need, whatever it may be. One thing is for sure, you're not going to be wasting time searching and wasting time making money. Instead, Indeed will take care of that for you. And in this minute that I've been talking about it, on average, per Indeed's data, 27 hires have been made by Indeed. Listeners of this show will also get a $75 sponsored job credit to help you with the job premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring. Do it the right way with Indeed. This show is also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The Winter Games are officially here, and if you're anything like us, you're looking for anything you can with these events to get all the information because it's a blast. And the only way to get the best opportunity is to check it out with FanDuel because it only happens once every 4 years and then it's gone. And that's why following the Winter Games on FanDuel just makes sense. Medal counts, individual events, finding your angles on all the sports you care about most. Check it out with FanDuel. And whether it's the drama of the luge, whether it's speed skating, figure skating, anything that they have going on, it's a lot of fun. Check out the Winter Olympics and FanDuel. The Winter Games are on, and there's no better way to check them out than with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. And if you want to take your game to the next level, make sure you check out the Everydayer Club down below in the description. It's pretty simple. The number one reason you should join the Everydayer Club, your audio feed will be with no ads. $5 a month or $50 upfront for the year. No ads in your audio feed. There's a link that will describe more. Check out the Everydayer Club. Now let's put the schedule up and discuss a little bit with what's going on with Ole Miss. This is not an easy road. Louisville, I don't expect to beat Ole Miss. It's in Nashville, so it's a neutral site game. I love it that they're playing that. September 5th. They've got LSU 2 weeks later. That'll be the most, for lack of a better term, controversial game in the 2026 season. It'll be the Lane Kiffin Bowl, if you will. And it's unfortunate, but that's what it's going to be. Let me be the first to say Ole Miss better go a million miles over the top, as much as it will pain their fans to hear this, to make sure that there are zero incidents regarding Lane Kiffin, because lawyers will find billable hours on LSU side if you do not, and that includes a team bus and everything else. They better be very, very careful with that. It'll be hostile, but if anything happens, I guarantee you it's not going to end up well for Ole Miss. That is a major concern of mine, but that ought to be a great game. September 26th, Florida is on the road. 2 reasons I put this up here. Number one, it's Florida. It's a swamp. But secondarily, that's a game after you play LSU. Where's your head at? Will Ole Miss win or lose? Are they going to be totally focused on Florida after that game? It's going to take a lot out of you. If you screw around, and again, the swamp, I've been there. It's historically one of the more difficult places to play in college football. If you goof around, it's plausible that Ole Miss comes out of that game with an L. October 24th is Texas. That's a really good football team. Some people have them preseason number 1. It's a road game. November 7th, Georgia. November 14th at Oklahoma. November 27th, the Egg Bowl will be in Oxford against Mississippi State on a Friday. There are a couple other games. Missouri's at home. They've got to play at Vanderbilt. Of course, they lose Diego Pavia. This is one of the most difficult slates in college football, but I also think that it's a manageable one because for the most part, there aren't back-to-backs. That LSU Florida situation's a little goofy. We'll see how that goes. But I think they've got a tough schedule. But with Trinidad, with a better defense, Suntarine Perkins, and some of these guys, Will Echols, like their defense is going to be good. And again, I will do a show with Stephen Willis. Like he knows the roster back of his hand and pick his brain. Probably do it a couple of times in the next few months from an offensive perspective, then defensive, to really get an idea of which portal players the Rebels expect to make an impact. But nonetheless, I do know one thing. Ole Miss, in my opinion, will be top 5, and I really don't think that it's all that debatable. As far as Ole Miss overall, there is one other thing I'm curious about. Will Ole Miss, now that they're the hunted, like truly, with the Trinidad news, the game against Kiffin, being in the playoff, being a couple plays away from the national title game, will Ole Miss be okay with being the hunted? How will they handle the different kinds of media? Not just you're really good, but Trinidad, Lane Kiffin, the court rulings, all of that stuff. You could get caught up in watching that instead of watching film. Every single moment of every single day matters. Will Ole Miss be able to handle that? I think so, but there's no guarantee. And that goes for the staff too. Like Pete Golding's a new head coach, and he did very well in his short time in the playoff, but we don't know how he's going to handle an offseason yet. He's never done it. Let's see how that goes. These are some of the issues that may or may not end up being a very big problem for Ole Miss. I have no idea. I don't even think Stephen Willis, as well as Stephen knows, the Ole Miss Rebels football program, can project that. He's a positive guy. He thinks well of his Rebels. He expects them to do well, but like that's just one of those things. It's a really unusual offseason. All these different pieces in 1 year. New head coach, first-year head coach. You're going to have a ruling that finally goes your way after appeals for your quarterback. Then, of course, the Lane Kiffin Bowl, et cetera. You're going to be a preseason favorite instead of an underdog, all wrapped into one offseason. Comment down below. What do you think about it? Let's hear what you think. Let's get into the comments here and have a little fun with it. Let's see. We should have got in here a little earlier. Salty, happy Friday afternoon, Portal Podcast Nation. What's going on, Salty? Salty, did Deuce Knight expect Chambliss to not return to Ole Miss? That's a great question. I don't know. I haven't spoken to Deuce in a while, but like either way, he's going to have an opportunity to be a quarterback next year if it's not this year. Why wasn't the Ole Miss affiliated judge required to recuse himself due to real or perceived conflict of interest? If the NCAA wanted to be jerks about it, I'm sure they could bring that up because there's no way you should have that judge ruling on this case, period. It's ridiculous. And again, this is going to hurt Ole Miss somewhere down the road. It may not be public, but there's going to be a ruling on something somewhere down the road. It's not going to go Ole Miss's way because they're doing this stuff. And I'm not saying Ole Miss is the only one. But if you don't, I mean, the guy's an Ole Miss fan, for the crying out loud. It was a really poor decision on Ole Miss's part, in my opinion. Salty, how likely is, and I'm not going to try to pronounce his full name, Honor Johnson to commit to Notre Dame, and how has Mike Mickens' exit affected things? The Johnson kid, I've heard SC is the most likely. He's from San Diego Cathedral Catholic. He's one of the top safeties in the class of 27. Notre Dame's one of the mix. Miami, Oregon. There's a couple other schools in the SEC, Big Ten. I think Ohio State's in there. I don't know where he's going, but he's doing an unofficial round. I think he's probably going to Notre Dame's spring game, if I was to guess. I don't know what's going on there, but the whole Mickens situation, I need a whole month or two more to really dive into that. We need to see who they get on campus for spring. Mickens was as good a recruiter as there was in college football this last year. He was awesome. Katie, there are guys out there getting 9 years. How is Chambliss' situation any different than Diego Pavia? Pavia, it was about the fact that he was a JUCO kid and how much exposure they got. And I actually, this is ironic that Katie brings this up. I actually brought this up as well. Look, it's pretty straightforward. You don't get much run, if you will, exposure, opportunity to capitalize monetarily at the JUCO level. But D2 Ferris State, is it any different? So I agree with Katie. I'm not sure. And I think it's just the fact that Pavia kind of sideswiped the NCAA with his lawyers. They didn't expect it, and they didn't want the negativity. This one, I don't know the backstory on why they were fighting against Trinidad. I'm not sure. I really don't know the backdrop to that. Your guess is as good as mine, but that's a really good question. By the way, the NCAA is so inconsistent. It's just unbelievable. Katie, there was no reason not to give him a 6th year. And in my opinion, I completely agree. Salty, there was a situation where an Alabama affiliated judge rules that a player could return from the pros for another year of eligibility. Bama, how is this not a conflict of interest? So I think that there was another judge. You're talking about the Hooper? I think, didn't somebody rule that down too? I don't follow college hoops like I used to, but yeah, this in-state conflict of interest stuff is going to end up burning these schools eventually. This, yeah, was a basketball player. Yeah, it's dumb. It's dumb. Hey, Salty, how does Driscoll know you're cheating over here? That's hilarious. Katie, UGA wins because of the Kirby Smart process. A Georgia player has said every day is game day for Kirby Smart, and if you can't handle that, don't go to Georgia. Yeah, I don't disagree there. Salty, I'm sure you're right. He is going to the spring game. Okay, talking about Johnson. He's a really good player. All right. When we come back, I'm going to discuss the top 26 teams, where I have them ranked, and why I think certain ones have a better shot to make a true college football playoff run. That is next right here on the Portal Podcast. Mazda moving the game forward. For those who show there's more to the score than what's on the screen. We've been talking about Trinidad Chambliss today, and to be honest with you, there's no reason to go away from that. I can't remember a guy coming out of left field more than Trinidad. Remember, he wasn't the starting quarterback for the Rebels to begin 2025, yet he ended up being one of the most dynamic players, not even just in the SEC, but college football, after being at Ferris State. The grit, the desire, the never give up attitude, if that is not moving the game forward, I don't know what is. Trinidad Chambliss was electric, and I'm glad he gets another year to do it for the Ole Miss Rebels. That's really awesome. We put the same passion into every model, highlights that make the reel. What it took to get there makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there is more to you. All right. Thank you very much for checking out the Portal Podcast again today. Live shows at noon, just about every day of the week, except for when out of town traveling for 7-on-7. But look, this is what's fun. All the research and stuff I do, I get to do predictions like this. I'm going to have my rankings, but there's a difference between a ranking and a team that's built for the playoff. Let me explain. I was on Alex Dono's Locked on Canes episode earlier today and recording. I don't know what time you put it up. Probably by now. It's probably already up. But I said Texas Tech, Miami, and Notre Dame are my three pretty much locks to make the playoff because of their schedule. They're not only really good, they've got good coaching, their schedules are super favorable. Now, again, just for sake of argument, let me put this up there. This is the schedule for Ole Miss. It is not friendly. These are only some of the games. This doesn't even include Missouri at home and at Vanderbilt. It's a gauntlet. Louisville, neutral. LSU at home, at Florida, at Texas, Georgia, at Oklahoma, and they got Mississippi State, of course, as well. That game it's pretty straightforward. Mississippi State, it's the Egg Bowl. They're going to be better again. I know it's on the road, but they would like nothing more than to spoil Ole Miss's fun, and I get it. But to that end, there are still teams that are built, in my opinion, for not just making it to the playoff, but they're built a little bit different because of a special player. And Trinidad is one of those. They probably should have beat Miami despite having less than 20 minutes of possession. Like, he's unbelievable. I will be surprised if Ole Miss is not in the Final Four. That is just my take. I don't know if they'll win the league, but when it gets to crunch time and I have to like pick somebody, it's kind of like an NFL thought. I'm going to bet on Trinidad. more often than not. Now, if he's banged up, all those things, we got to take that into consideration. I'm talking right now on the 13th of February. It doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot. However, here's the key. He's also got another year after an offseason. He's going to know the offense. The guy they brought in as the OC, because Kiffin was basically the OC. I know Charlie Weiss Jr. was technically, but those combined are really good. The offense they're bringing in is very, very similar. There's going to be just a few nuances, and he's already comfortable in Oxford. They're one of my four. My other 3 or 4 teams, as I talked about earlier, Oklahoma and Texas. LSU's kind of an outlier. I need to see if Sam Leavitt can make it. And then Georgia. Help me out here for those of you in the chat if you want to comment on this. Does anybody buy Georgia as a legit national title contender or just a very good team that will make the playoff? I think it's more the latter. I don't think they're going to be bounced out of the playoff discussion. I think they'll finish 10-2 or better. I do. But I'm not sure that I'm going to put my last dollar on Gunnar Stockton to win. I mean, he's pretty good. But do you trust – just think about these scenarios. And we don't know how the playoffs are going to bear themselves out. If Georgia plays a neutral site in the playoff, and let's just assume both quarterbacks are healthy for the sake of argument, against any of the following teams, who are you going with? Texas has Arch. Miami, you got Darian Mensah. Even Texas Tech, which I don't think they'll be as good. They went out and got a top quarterback in Brendan Sorsby. Notre Dame's got C.J. Carr. Ohio State's entire offense is ridiculous. Like just over and over again, will they even make the Final Four? And I really like Georgia's roster. They were really young this past year. But I think they're going to have to find a way to win a game 24-21, and those are hard. Not a lot of room for error. I don't see it, but you never know. Whichever team it is, so be it. I just know, like a guy like Julian saying, if Ohio State has the ball last 2 minutes to go in their own 20, even a minute to go, no offense, it's not close. I'll take him, or C.J. Carr, or Darian Mensah. Like if you rank the quarterbacks out of the top 8 teams, Georgia might have the worst. But they might win the league. It's Kirby, I think, is a great coach. He figures stuff out. But doing that in the playoff, I think, will be difficult. Now, John Mateer at Oklahoma. He's another guy I'm like, I don't know. He was hurt from like the Auburn game on. They didn't discuss it. They didn't put it on the injury chart. That's another one. Are you going to take Mateer over Julian Sayin, C.J. Carr, Darian Mensah, Trinidad Chambliss? Heck no. I'm not. You can go right ahead. And here's another team that I think is a wild card to make the playoff. And although I'm down on them in general, but they got a lot of fifth-year seniors, including Jaden Maeva. He doesn't get any discussion. I don't know why. The quarterback at USC is really good. I'm not saying I trust them against Georgia in a power game, but Maeva, do you let him hang around? Wait in the game, do you want Maeva to have the ball against, I don't care, any defense? No. Every team that's viable that I look at right now to make the playoff and do something other than Georgia has a dynamic quarterback. Gunner's been too inconsistent for me to give him the dynamic title. He can run. Like the people that don't think he can run, I don't know what they're watching. I've seen people say, I'm like, what are you talking about? He's a good runner. He's a really strong kid, and he probably needs to slide a little more, but that's another discussion. I just don't think he's consistent enough, and he turns it over in critical moments. Maybe this will be his year. He's a veteran. He's a grad student. It could be. But out of all the teams, he's probably going to be ranked the lowest on the quarterback run. Like Oregon, that's another one. There's no way he's going to have the edge over Dante Moore in my book. We'll see. So what do you think? Am I off? Is there a reason to think that there's a couple other guys that should be lower? I mean, I don't expect Clemson to make it or Florida. Like the ACC is terrible. But Kevin Jennings at SMU, if they get in, like he's got playoff experience too. I would go Kevin Jennings probably. Be close. I don't know for sure, but I could see that. Why not? At any rate, there are a few different ways to look at that. Let's see. Salty. Georgia's getting hurt by not being able to stack 5-star players up and down the depth chart. Well, they do, and then after their sophomore year, they leave. Kids that don't play by the end of their sophomore year are gone. And you're right. It hurts the SEC in general. Katie, I never count Georgia out. Georgia never depends on a quarterback exclusively, true, to get them where they want to go. You let Darian Mensah go down early, and Miami is no better than a 7-8 win team with a mediocre head coach. I'm not disagreeing with Katie. Like, quarterback is just really important, but it's the same thing for Georgia. I honestly don't, this is sad. I honestly don't know for sure who the backup will be for Georgia this year. Is it Puglisi? Is it somebody? You got to go through spring. But the fact that right now, to my knowledge, UGA does not have a team pushing them in practice, like that key quarterback to push. And that's not good for your team. I heard Puglisi last year was a turnover machine in practice. He was young. Maybe that's different this spring, and then you can start to see competition. Because at some point, if Gunnar has a stretch this year, even if they win, where he's turning it over in critical moments, that can't happen. Because like he makes the wow play. That throw he had against Tennessee last year was as good a throw as I saw the entire season. The one on the fade ball in the corner, like, it was just awesome. But he also makes boneheaded decisions. And by the point that he was playing last year, that's not acceptable. He's a veteran player. So I'm wondering if he just is who he is, and he will occasionally just cut your own heart out. That's just my opinion. UGA backup is Ryan Puglisi. Yeah, well, he hasn't really played. So if Gunnar misses a game, even if it's a quarter, is that going to cost them a chance at the play? Like, their schedule is not easy either. It's not. So we'll see how it goes. But everybody has their own opinion. I just think Georgia's kind of the wild card. Now, I do want to talk about Texas briefly here. What's everybody's opinion on one guy? I'm just going to say his name. I'm just going to pause for it. I want you to think. Arch Manning. Is Arch Manning going to be that guy that gets Texas over the top? I'm a little bit lower on them. Some people got them 1, 2, or 3. I don't have top 5. And it's 2 reasons. Number one, I need to see their offensive line. That was their problem this past year. In 24, their big-time left tackle. He had a great year. He turns pro. It happens. But the same thing happened at LSU. When offensive tackles turn pro early, it usually does not go well. When Joe Alt left Notre Dame a few years back, it's hard to replace those kinds of players. You can't. Texas doesn't have that problem this year, but they got the kid from Wake Forest. That's good. They certainly got Cam Coleman. Their defense, they changed coordinators, but they got a great one. Is this the year? I think it comes down, as boring as the answer is, to Arch Manning. He improved vastly at the end of last year, no doubt. Because by game 5 or 6, I'm like, he's just not the guy. And then he started to see the field better, because I didn't think he was reading defenses very well. And that's the other team that I think is most likely to give a run to playoff. And I would vote Texas over Georgia if they played in the playoff. I don't know about regular season, but by that point, because Arch is such an athlete, he's a big guy, I would go with him, and I'm going to go with Cam Coleman. Straight up. No, I'm going to go with Cam Coleman. That guy is a freak. He's a rare commodity. And I also think he's a guy that, frankly, I don't know if there's anybody that can jump with him, and considering he's 6, like I've stood next to him, he's a legit 6'4". Red zone opportunities, good luck. That is a really rare guy. So we'll see. The only SEC team that I didn't talk about that a lot of people probably, I don't think Alabama's going to make playoff. I don't. I think they'll be the first team out, second team out. SEC is a little more balanced and a little bit better. Several quarterbacks come back. Arch, Gunnar, Mateer's back. Obviously, Trinidad's back, and Levitt's coming to LSU. This is going to be an up year for the entire league in terms of quarterback play. Good luck. I don't know what to tell everybody. Like, South Carolina's got, I know they're not great. They got a quarterback. Aguilar, I expect to get the injunction if he hasn't already been ruled on today. That league has a lot of quarterbacks. Kenny Minchie at Kentucky, he's a transfer Notre Dame. He's very talented. Let's see what happens. But I think Alabama is going to be 8-4, 9-3, and there's going to be a big discussion about whether or not the staff should stay. Not just head coach, but like I expect some concern, because I think they'll score, but they got to prove that they can be better on defense, and they also have to prove that they can do this thing that Nick Saban really liked. It's called running the football. They were awful at it last year, and I just don't understand how that's possible at Alabama with the running backs that they have. It's really crazy. Let's see what we got up here. Katie says, Mike Bobo develops quarterbacks as well as anybody in college football. I don't know if you're being serious about that, but the people that root for Georgia hate his guts. For whatever that's worth. I don't think that quarterbacks necessarily develop as well as you think, because you have to be able to be a throw-first team against top-notch teams for me to buy that. Part of that's Kirby. That may not be Bobo, but Kirby would rather never pass the football, in my opinion, and that's why I don't agree. Salty, very good, but not transcendent. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Let's see. Katie, I'm not sure Sarkisian is that guy. As a head coach, I'm not either. I think he's a really good coach. I mean, they won. They beat Saban on the road a few years ago, etc. He's had some moments, but they're inconsistent. They're very, very inconsistent. Joe Alt made the NFL Pro Bowl this year despite only playing in 8 games. That's insane. Joe Alt's going to be a Hall of Famer. Remember, UGA won 2 titles with a walk-on quarterback. You know what's funny about that? They had an all-time defense, but that guy ended up making it to the NFL. That's one of the greatest stories in college football history. I don't think Gunnar Stockton is as good. I just don't. Maybe I'm different. Referring to Arch Manning. Yeah, he's not transcendent. I just think he's good. I think that Arch could be a guy that ends up in the Heisman discussion, final 10. I don't think he'll even make it to New York, but they have enough pieces around him. He shouldn't have to. They got some good running backs. The O-line improved. Again, you have Cam Coleman. Don't overcomplicate it. Defense ought to be good too. And Colin said, the edge rushers and the defensive backs Texas could have a top 5 national defense. And that's the key, especially against the run. If you can stop the run, you've got a great chance to make a run at the national title. Just my opinion. With that, I appreciate everybody stopping in again today. It's been another blast. Please check out the Everydayer Club description down below. Get your ads taken off on your audio, $5 a month or $50 for the year. This has been a very fun podcast for me, and I hope, to be honest with you, that we get a lot more opportunities to talk about Trinidad Chambliss in a positive light and all these schedules. I'm going to have Stephen Willis on the crossovers with him. That's a lot of fun. We got a lot to discuss, but this has been the Portal Podcast. Everybody, please like and subscribe. We will see you again soon.